Welcome everybody to this edition of Attention Talk Video. I'm your host, ADHD and Attention Coach Jeff Copper. I would, first of all, like to acknowledge our viewers. I thank you so much for all your comments and stuff, and every once in a while we get some requests, and not that long ago I got a request from an individual to share more of my experience in athletics as it relates to ADHD, and that's what today is all about. And if you can notice, I'm wearing headphones, sunglasses, and my old swimming parka back from my Indiana days. If you saw this is like full length. It goes down past my knees. I'm like a walking stop sign. But what I'm here to illustrate is that when it comes to athletics, you're trying to compete, but the mental side of the game is as much a part of athletics as the physical side. And as an athlete, as a swimmer, when I first went to Olympic trials and nationals, I was pretty nervous. I was pretty amped up on emotions. But as I attended them more regularly, it was a little bit, it's got to be a little bit old school, old hat. And either way, there's two things that I was always trying to manage. One is the pressure, and number two is trying to get excited when I want to, on demand. And there's a lot of mindfulness that goes into that. And so what I'm wearing right now is, if you'll watch like the Super Bowl or the NBA Finals or stuff, you'll see a lot of the athletes are dressed like I am. And I can only speak to my experience, but basically, one of the things that I would be doing when I would go to nationals, particularly, I remember I was at a meet one time in Arkansas in the same heat. It was the first time I had competed against the East Germans and the Russians back in the 80s, back in the big steroid days, and it was a pretty big deal. And there was cameras there, and remember my first dual meet in college was in Iowa, and ESPN was there with the track and the lights and the cheerleaders and stuff. And so what really trying to do is trying to block out everything. The hood kind of is like blinders, the sunglasses kind of take some stuff away, and the headphones and the music being piped in are there really to distract my mind, to keep it off the intensity and the attention that's being paid attention to me in that particular environment. So in one sense, you'll see the athletes getting out, they're blocking off. They really don't want to get caught up in the hype at that particular moment. They're trying to stay calm. They're trying to save their mental energy. And quite frankly, when I'm in those situations, I'm trying to get my mind to wander off into other places and really just kind of relax. At the same time, I don't want to get too excited. I don't want to peak too early. And so what I would actually do is I would play music that was kind of more down. I remember I used to listen to a lot of music from the soundtrack of The Big Chill. There's a couple Rocky songs that are, if you watch the movie, when he's, I guess, running in the morning, getting ready, that type of stuff is really kind of low. And then as I would get closer to the event, I would amp it up into more Eye of the Tiger, Rocky type stuff that was more excited to kind of get the beat going, because I really wanted to control my emotions in that particular moment, because I wanted them to heighten at a specific time and not go out a little bit too early. So how does all this relate to ADHD? Well, ADHD, we know, is a self-regulation issue, and emotions are as much a part of ADHD as attention is. But the issue really is how do you manage your emotions? And for many with ADHD, managing pressure is really a big deal. And how do you do that? Sometimes those with ADHD, they shut down, they paralyze, they run away from it all, which is not necessarily the best thing, because you're really avoiding it at that point in time. But sometimes you have to step away, and you have to kind of clear your head. And sometimes you have to kind of like get your mindset where it needs to be. Sometimes it's the opposite. Let's say that you're at fight, flight, or freeze, and you're really kind of off the charts. The idea is what's your process in order to bring it down? As an athlete, what's my process to bring it up? I really want to get to that heightened state of emotion at a specific time, where those with ADHD are trying to down-regulate their emotion. We're going in an opposite direction, but in your mind, there's a methodical process to this. Again, I controlled it a lot with music and shutting things down, and sometimes I would spend some time just thinking about other things, which, by the way, just so you know, visualization that they talk about for athletes never worked for me. I couldn't visualize anything long enough to do it. I finally let that go. For some athletes, it's really a big deal. They begin to visualize and think what's going to happen and kind of play it in their head, rehearse it, if you will. Again, for me, that didn't necessarily work. All I did was really kind of focus in on, when that gun went off, just the focus on the letting it all go, the rush, the sensation of pouring the energy and the emotions all out in that moment. That's kind of how I focused. So anyway, I'm hopeful that this is kind of a useful video, but the concept really is as an athlete, I'm trying to control my thoughts. I'm trying to control my emotions in a very thoughtful way, and it's very effortful. It's rehearsed at regular dual meets and at regular meets. And those with ADHD, it's the same thing. You need to manage your thoughts. I'm trying to up my emotions or block out pressure. Those with ADHD are trying to block out pressure and many times down-regulate their emotions. Again, it's a mental exercise that requires rehearsal and practice and thought. I hope this has given you pause to maybe look at athletes or even actors. I did an interview with Roger DeWitt on Attention Talk Radio, who, by the way, his mother was the voice of Wilma Flintstone, and I think he was on the Jetsons. His voice was on it a couple times. But anyway, he has done like, I think, 1,600 Phantom of the Opera plays, and when you get on that, he's got to get into character and he's got to get his emotions up, and what I'm describing to you as an athlete is similar to what he goes through as an actor, which is similar to what you do as a person with ADHD. Acknowledge it, practice managing it. How you do that, it depends on the individual, but I'll tell you, if you look at all the athletes, you can see them getting off the buses. You'll see many of them controlling it. They have sunglasses on to block things out. They've got hoodies on. They've got music that they're trying to control it because they're trying to control their mind using external forces. So with that, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm very anxious to hear your comments. I'd like to know if you'd like to hear more of these athletic metaphors, certainly. And please subscribe to our channel. We release tips and insights on a weekly basis. So with that, we hope you've enjoyed this edition of Attention Talk Video. Take care.